Everybody, this is AJ Capasso here with Talking with the Source, and I'm with my good friend.
It's Robin from Hopper Paranormal.
Dr. Evil, dude. I couldn't. I just can't with him. I can't with him. He's ridiculous.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do with your life, AJ? Watch television?
Listen, okay, I got you doing that, and then I got John in the background as we're starting dancing. And I can see him in the background, and I'm just like, what is wrong with these two? I was like, I can't do this today. I can't do this. Anyway, real quick, I just want to do a quick shout out to Global Ghost Hunt. We're having our October event coming up. If you are a team or you're a researcher, please feel free to go to www.globalghosthunt.com. Sign your team up. We have some amazing locations that you can also check out that have signed up with Global Ghost Hunt. Also for this year, we have some new teams coming that are already a part of it, and a bunch of great stuff. So definitely check it out, www.globalghosthunt.com. But anyway, guys, we have an awesome guest today. She's back. She's one of our great friends. Super excited to have her on again. Her name is Heather Mattison. She is a amazing medium. She also has been on amazing television shows from Kindred Spirits to Nick Groff's Deathwalker. I mean, it's just amazing. So let me bring her on real quick. Hey, Heather, how are you?
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Good.
Hey, well, great to have you back.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Be back.
No, thank you so much. It's a total honor to have you back on. I know you're super busy. You got a lot going on, but I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you. Real quick, I wanted to start off with just a really stupid for me question, because I have to ask this question because I think
understandable.
I have a good idea. Then again, who does have a good idea of this? Question for you. Being a medium, what is going on? Like, what happens when we die?
Just in general, like the process?
Yeah, what's the process? Like, what happens,
A couple different things. I mean, my spirit guides, the beings that I sort of work with, that I talk to a lot, is readings, and the way they explain it to me, and I've been around people who've died, and then they explain what's happening. One thing they do is they call it convening. They'll know when people are dying about 2 weeks before, and they'll start sending people in, family members. Sometimes you'll see it clearly when someone's in the hospital. Let's say they're bedridden or they're in long-term care. They'll start talking about seeing relatives right before they're about to pass. They say that people start to show up around you to help you cross over, people that you would know, friends, family. And then angels show up, and they sort of lead you away once you leave your body. So that's just the beginning of it. But the angels that show up, there's usually two. They come in pairs, and they'll come around and they'll sort of escort you as you leave your body. But they'll also have your relatives there as well. So you don't feel like you're going with someone you don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be comfortable as they can. So when you cross, it's different when someone's in an accident, or if it's like a quick, death, then it gets strange, because then you're like out of your body so quickly, and you don't have that time to absorb what's happening. Then there's some confusion. But once you die, you go to the upper realms, the upper spirit realms, where you ideally want to go. There's other places you can go, but you really don't want to go there. That's like lower levels. But you have to go for training and for all this other stuff that happens if you're not a very good person. So you go to the higher realms, you cross over, then you do something. They sort of go through your life review with you. You sit with your spirit guide, who's always with you all the time through your whole lifetime as well, because there's a whole thing with spirit guides. We had talked about it last time, but you're assigned a spirit guide that sticks with you through your lifetime on Earth. They know what your life path is supposed to be, so they go with you when you die. So they sit right with you, though. They have to answer all the questions you're answering in your life review, because they show you all your highlights basically of your life when you did good things, and they show you low lights of your low points of your life, low lights, however you want to word it, but things that they weren't maybe happy with, or that you felt like you failed, or you may have done something that wasn't very good. But they show you everything, snippets of things that you've done, and then you have to sort of answer for everything, explain what's going on. And life review thing, it's part of like a healing process that takes place. And then once you're in the higher spirit realm, you can rest anywhere from up to about 100 years, and then you're sent back down for reincarnation.
Now, see, there's so many questions that I have. Like for the reincarnation thing, the first thing I want to start off with, there's people that are talking about this whole thing and saying that, oh, if you have a choice to, look back on the earth or go obviously into this reincarnation thing, and they're saying that this reincarnation thing is this trap, and that we all don't have to go back, or all this kind of stuff like that. Like, do you have anything to say on that? I don't know if you've ever saw any videos like that from what's coming on the internet nowadays.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't watch stuff like that. But I mean, I know that my guides explain that you reincarnate anywhere between 13 and like 21 times onto Earth. Every time, I mean, you start out as this blob of energy. So your creation energy, what orbs are, I guess, or however you want to word it, you're just
I get you.
And your first body form, the first incarnation you take place in, that's what you look like. That's sort of your first appearance, I guess, on Earth. So you're put into like a shell, and then you live that lifetime, when you go for your reincarnation. So each reincarnation out, though, they do give you a task. Usually it's one of the 7 deadly sins, one of the 7 heavenly virtues, and you're supposed to master that. So if it's like greed, or if it's lust, or if it's, charity, they'll give you these tasks. Let's say you're born into a very wealthy family and your task was greed. Then you have to overcome that greed. Like, do you give away to charity? Were you good with your money, or did you keep it all yourself? So they lessons, and they'll throw tests at you over and over again. And you'll see it with people that you can almost see that they're cycling in the same thing. They'll do the same mistakes over and over again. Even in this lifetime, people that nowadays, you'll be like, oh my God, that person's got addiction problems, like everything from gambling to this to that. It always seems like they're battling this through their whole lifetime until they find out and come to terms with it. So the reincarnation process is all about learning lessons. You're supposed to be evolving. You're basically a big snowball. They want you to learn lessons every lifetime out. They want you to gain knowledge each lifetime out, and then you take that knowledge, those lessons that you learned with you, into the next lifetime. And then when you reincarnate back onto Earth again, they give you about 100-year buffer. They don't want you coming in really any sooner than that. It could be like 80 to 100 years. You don't want to run the risk of trying to reach out to family members on Earth if you come back too soon, or for revenge. Like, say you were murdered. You don't want to, if you come back like 2 years after you've died, you might remember and try and find the people that hurt you or whatever. After 100 years, though, nobody remembers what you looked like or sounded like, or what you're even about. And so when you're back in after a long period of time like that, you then
that brings up a question. Like the 9/11, when that happened, like there were babies born, not too long after that remember vivid details about 9/11. Things that nobody would have seen because they were in the building. They felt the heat. They like, these kids were vividly telling, I remember burning, and they were like 5 years old. And I remember seeing that at like, I want to say like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah. And that'll happen too, because there are issues where innocents are involved in a mass death like that, like a plane crash or somewhere where there's been a lot of death all at one time. That's a perfect example. 9/11 was a weird one. I think some people got into that where some people were supposed to die at that time. It could have been accidental, because you do have things like suicides. You have some accidents that are purely accidental, and it maybe wasn't their time to go yet. Because you do sign a contract to reincarnate in. You agree to live to be, let's say you agree to be 80 years old, your lifetime out on Earth this time, and you commit suicide. And depending why you commit suicide, say at 30, you commit suicide. It could have been for revenge to somebody else. Say you broke up with somebody and you want to get back at them. So they take all that into account. Like, you may have a chemical imbalance. You may not be right. You may have been very drunk. Like, there's issues that happen with that. So if you left and it wasn't your time period, like you were supposed to live to be 80, but you left at 30. Same with these accident victims. They would have had to, they wanted them to live out that life term on Earth. And sometimes they'll reincarnate them right back in again. So with an accident,
That brings a question from my side, and AJ will know what I'm going to say here, because my partner died in January, and our eldest daughter was coming round the day after she passed to tell her that she was actually pregnant with a grandchild, but she never got to tell her. Well, I've since been told that when our eldest daughter has that child, that's going to be my partner reincarnating into that child to watch over. So that's a period of months compared to like the years. So how does that work?
it just depends on sometimes. Usually they won't really do that. They'll what people do when you die, one of your jobs is to choose the spirits that come in. They'll choose someone to be sent in, but she was already pregnant at that point. Your partner,
Yeah.
I mean your daughter. So
Yeah.
she wouldn't have chosen that soul. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't gone yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Because
brings
again, it's about the whole thing about the reincarnation as well that I watched on YouTube one time was someone talking about it and saying that you can be reincarnated almost straight away if you have unfinished business or if you need punishment rather than.
Well, yeah, and the issue with the punishment thing. So what that's all about is so a case of suicide where you committed suicide because you're trying to punish someone. You know what I mean? You're trying to get back, like, oh, they were unfair. They broke up with me. I'm going to show them. I'm going to kill myself. If you signed a contract to be here till you're 80, that's where a lot of hauntings happen. You would have signed a contract to live till you're 80 years old, died at 30, and you did it out of spite, depending on the suicide. You know what I'm saying? They won't reward you by taking you to the higher spirit level by letting you go and live in paradise when you signed a contract to live to be 80. So then you're earthbound until you would have turned 80. So then you have to stay on Earth until you would have turned 80. That's why there's hauntings, places where weird things have happened, even if it's like an accidental shooting or something where maybe they weren't supposed to go at that time, because there are accidents too. But
that's so crazy. That's so crazy. Oh, sorry, Heather. I didn't mean to cut you off. That's so crazy that you said that, because I always wonder why we don't have spirits from, say, Roman times. You know what I mean? Like haunting us, still or whatever. Because it's so crazy. You said until their time was supposed to be up. So, my question is, if time and space isn't really, like that in the afterlife, how do they base the amount of time off of it? Do they go by human years, or do they go by their own set of time?
yeah, they're super annoying when it comes to that. Like my spirit guides, because they'll be like,
Yeah.
because I'll ask them, hey, when is this going to happen? And they'll be like, soon. And I'll be like, well, what is soon to you? You mean is soon 100 years, or soon like 10,000 or 10 minutes? What is soon to you?
No, mine keep telling me to learn patience.
Yeah. Yes.
That's their main thing.
It gets weird with that. As far as time, I mean, what they explained to me is human spirits have a shelf life, basically. They're not meant to live forever. The angelic realm, when angels were here roaming the earth, those are the giants. They talk about the Anunnaki and all the giants that lived here with the Native American cultures, all the different cultures believing in giants, and they found skeletons. So they're explaining to me there were these beings that were of a higher order, this angelic being. They're giants. They sort of helped the humans settle everything and then took off. But they were very huge, big beings. But they had longer life terms when they lived here. That's what the angelic wars are all about. There's a whole nother thing that went on with these angelic beings. And that's what they say, that's what demons are, or they call them renegades, or beings that didn't cross over properly when they were supposed to for the angelic wars. Like they called them all home, and some didn't come home. Some stayed, and some take over people. And I'm not a demon person at all. These are more like angelic beings that, because they can communicate telepathically. So there's a lot of stuff going on with these other beings that exist. But humans were created to live a shorter lifespan. Also, our energy level is very small. Like our ball of energy, if you want to say like a baseball size, to like an angelic being's energy force would be much bigger, like a beach ball compared to that. They live longer. They're a stronger, higher power. Humans' energy does sort of dissipate over time. That's why you really won't see anybody past about 250 years. They said is about the lifespan. It's just like any other kind of energy. It peters out. So over time, it dissipates. So your human energy will dissipate. That's why you won't see ancient Roman stuff. You won't see things going back hundreds and hundreds of years. But there are spirit guardians and that sort of watch over places, cemeteries, places where there's been a lot of deaths, even like churches, things like that. That's why you'll have these beings that are morphing in big. They don't look like human size. They're bigger. They're usually black shadow masses that are tall. These are angelic beings, but sometimes they're human spirits that come in that are highly evolved. Because there's different orders of beings. It's not just human angel. Do you know what I mean? There's like elementals. You've got fairies. You've got trolls. You've got all the elementals that were here long ago before humans. So there's lots of layers of things that live here. People think it's just A, B, C. It isn't. Lots of other stuff live here. And long before humans became a thing here.
Wow. That is crazy. Have you ever asked like how everything started? How they became, like how they chose, like was this their chosen, or was this made for us?
It was, well, yeah, they do explain it in one of the books. They actually wrote all about it. But this, because I'm not a religious person, that's why it's really funny. Because my guys have gods and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm not into, and they're like, no, it's like a higher order. Like, we're using terms angels, gods to you because you would understand, because of my background, that an angel is more powerful than a human. A god is more powerful than an angel. But then there's governing gods. There's these governing angels. There's different levels of angels and gods and humans. There's like different levels. So going into time, as far as how things started, they did explain that that's what UFOs are about, aliens. These humans, what we are, people, are populating planets all over the universe. But they've been doing this for millions and millions of years. So there's other planets that have humans that were created like 1,000,000 years ago, or 100,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago. So it's like a human if you were to fast forward them 10,000 years. So that's why they're more. Some can travel in energy form. That's why you see balls of light as UFOs. That's why some travel in ships. So it gets involved. There's a whole connection between the UFO stuff and spirits and angels. A lot of times they explain to me that they come here visiting Earth. It's almost like going to a zoo because they're watching humans in like their Genesis form.
Yeah.
Start out, but they did explain. I mean, they said that angels were created by the gods, the governing gods. So they explained that there's, I guess it's a pyramid shape. You've got the main, like, bigger forces that are at the top of the pyramid creating everybody else. And then you have all these other levels of beings that monitor different areas of the world. So there's different governing gods that control different areas of the world. That's why different areas of the world will feel very different when you go to them, because different energy. Yeah. And it even breaks up. It's not as much as, not as simple as countries are broken up. It's just sections of the planet are broken down into these segments. But they said they created these angelic beings. They gave them Earth to live on because they wanted them to know what it was like to have independence, live on the Earth's surface, and it was like paradise basically. But then they had animals created because they wanted the angels to have something to take care of and basically govern over, and something to love, basically, like the gods love these angels. So then when they created the animal realm, the angels governed them, took care of it. But they gave the angels really long lifespans or sentences to send to live on Earth, and they weren't happy. So they were down here for like 1,000 years, and they were basically calling bullshit on it. They were not happy that they were sent so long to Earth, and they started complaining. And they're like, look, there's a lot of the planet that's not hospitable. Some of the animals were attacking these angelic beings because the angels weren't allowed or created so that they could create their own babies. They didn't do that. They were just their own beings. But the animals that they watched did that, but some were attacking them. Some were getting, it became too long a time. They wanted to go back up into the higher realms. They did not.
Wow.
And so that was a lot of the battle. That's a lot of fighting was about. So all that.
Sorry. No, keep going.
So with all of that happening, and then there started to become wars. So the angels started fighting against the higher beings that were coming and governing them. This is like the Anunnaki. These would be the higher gods that came down, were watching over all this. And again, I'm not religious. This is not my background. And they're just like writing it all out. Like, this is what happened. I'm like, okay. And then they said, so with these angels, they became a lot, started to really fight back. So when these beings came down to trying to smooth things out, straighten things out, they were being attacked and murdered and dismembered because they were corporal beings. They were actually living flesh and blood sort of beings, these angels. And the beings that were coming down to save them were coming in human form, trying to help them. So there's this big weird war that came out. A lot of them went back. They started evacuating people, taking them all out of here. And then some were remaining in hiding. They didn't want to go back because they were being told that they were so pissed off at the way the angels were reacting that they were turning them into these grotesque, animalistic forms of angels that would be like cavemen, base level humans, that they're so angry about the way they were reacting because they were attacking animals. They were like going after each other and killing each other. It was really bad. So those beings were being morphed once the angels were hearing that, wow, they're changing us into these animalistic, horrible, creepy things. They started hiding. And that's where all weird stuff went on. They're hiding in caves or hiding on the planet. So that's why there's these beings stronger than humans that are existing, that are going after humans. But over time, the gods sort of forgave them and started morphing them into more humanistic. That's why we sort of look the way we look now. Now we do look more like the beings that are the higher levels. So they sort of forgave them over time, but there's still a few that are like running around loose. So they call them renegades, but they do go after humans. They do attack people. They've been sort of screwed up over time. They like morph the people they kill. They sort of take their energies on. It's super weird. They become these dark energies. Dark. They almost turned into like grotesque dark shadow beings.
Yeah. Now, one question that we got earlier was from Howard. He asked, can spirit pass through the veil at any time? And the reason why he's asking this question is because his 24-year-old pregnant daughter committed suicide in his home in October, obviously it says, and he's seen her 4 times full-bodied apparition. So can these spirits, can they come through the veil anytime and visit us? Like our human being spirits? He's not governing ones. I mean, I know he's governing.
Yep, because one thing of a human spirit. So once you cross over, once you've gone into the higher spirit realm, you've crossed over properly, and you've done your life review, and they've healed you, and you're okay, they'll allow you to come in. You can visit. And a lot of times people will have visitations to people too as they're crossing. Like the day they cross, they'll be like, I saw my grandmother standing in my room, and then I found out the next day she died. They'll even like check in and say goodbye. And they can come and go. And those spirits they're pretty much healed and sound by the time they can do that too. That's why you'll see them looking, they'll usually look healthy, and they'll look, not sickly, depending on how they die. Like say they were dying of cancer or something. They'll come back looking like they would have in the prime of their life or when they were healthiest, things like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I wanted to ask that for Howard because we got so in depth with the history of basically of the whole spirit thing when I asked you before, and that was so crazy because I never knew. I knew some of it, but when you got into the higher governing things and all that kind of stuff, it's so crazy that even the source energy, even this energy of consciousness that makes us who we are, I just find it so crazy that even that has an order. Like how we do now today. It's so that shows that we've got it from somewhere. Like it wasn't just us creating this. It came from somewhere higher up, like, that made us have all these orders. Like we have like all these laws here, just like we do there. It's crazy.
Yeah. On earth as it is in heaven, right? So
yeah,
that's what they literally mean by that there is a pecking order. There definitely are people who are in charge or sort of running things,
Now, how do we have the power to manifest into our reality, like certain things? Because I hear so much stuff about law of attraction and certain things like that. Like, what is your opinion on all of that?
I think a lot of that, like self-fulfilling prophecy, things like that. That's why everybody has their own spirit guide that sticks with them through their lifetime out. This is another human spirit who would have known them from their spirit family, and they've already done other lifetimes. They've graduated. So their job now is to partner with people on earth. They'll come in with you. And I tell people all the time, because your spirit guide's always with you and they're always listening and they're always watching over you, to write things down. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like if you're saying it out loud, your guide's going to hear you. So your guide's going to know what you're interested in, what you're trying to achieve. You know what I mean? So that's why, people pray. The reason people pray, right? A lot of times you're praying, you're actually talking out loud. People think they're talking to no one, or God or whoever, but you're talking to your spirit guides hearing you, and they can call in, healing angels and those energies to come in and help as well. So it's almost like you're alerting them. So I think there is something to that. And I would say, one weird thing when people die around you, so close family member dies, parent, a child, is now you have this strange connection to the upper realms, and they know what you're all about. Like your family members, the closest ones to you, know what you're trying to achieve. They know what you like. People's fates will change a lot. It's almost like good luck will happen to them when people die,
Yeah.
because they pull strings from their side. Then they know what you're trying to do. They know what you love or what you like, and then they'll sort of send it to you. It's
Yeah.
really weird. People's luck will change. Is bad
Yeah.
luck they died? I'm not saying that's good luck, but I'm saying now you've got this connection in the higher realm. So when you're praying or talking to your guides, they're directly listening to you, your family.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That does, because I've had a lot of things change since my father's passed. Like, a lot of stuff has changed in my life, and it's gotten better. I mean, it's gotten a lot better, and it's not like it's better because he's gone, but it's better. And I knew that it was better because something was helping me on the other side with certain things, and I could feel that. I could totally feel that and understand. But hey, do you guys have any questions? This is like the quietest our
Tell you what
podcast has
would
ever.
help me. Tell you what would help me. Lottery numbers.
Oh, yeah.
666 Lots
Yeah,
There
right.
you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Yep. Yep. How about you, John? You have any questions?
Well, it's interesting that you're talking about the healing aspect of the spirit, and what I understood is when we pass on, we go into this type of cocoon that will wrap us up, make us feel loved and warm, and it will kind of erase everything that happened in our past life, so we don't carry it forward. But it would heal us if we did any wrong. Like I don't know. I'm just like you. I don't believe heaven or hell. I don't believe that there's demons. I think there's asshole spirits that are stuck here and they're pissed they're stuck here. I've helped families from coast to coast with poltergeists, and it always ended up being somebody that was trapped there, and it was more than likely a family member 95% of the time. So I don't know. I guess I'm just curious about that healing process. Once they're healed, I was under the assumption it only took 3 years for them to go through that process and to come back.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it depends on what your life was like, what happened, how much healing you need. It doesn't really take a really long time. I always tell people at least 6 months, depending on how they died. If you're talking about someone who's got cancer or they died of an illness where it's almost like a clock wearing down. They're very depleted. Their energy is definitely low. So by the time they die, they don't have a lot of energy. So when they cross, it takes a while for them to up their energy again. Once they cross over and they're healed, like you said, 3 years, 6 months, it
Yeah,
depends.
I found with spirit everything works in threes for some reason, and they put it towards the Christ or towards the Trinity or whatever, but it's a prime number. It can't be divided in half. It's a number that is pure. That's
Right.
why I believe in 369. I don't know if you meditate at all, but I meditate on frequencies while listening to music, and that helps me tune into everything. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't really meditate. I'm a clear audience, so I hear a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Good.
I know we asked about this last time, or I know I probably asked about this last time. Actually, you want to know what? Before I get to that question, because you just said clear audio, I want to ask Humberto's question real quick. He said, with the spirits, like when we were talking about crossing over and stuff, and the loved ones, he said, is it really a goodbye when they come back and say goodbye for that first time that they visit? Is it really a goodbye though? And he said, because recently he came in contact with his grandfather on an investigation, probably coming through, either a spirit box or something along those lines, or maybe just a feeling. But do you feel that it's really a goodbye, or is it just like a formal goodbye, and then it's just like to help you get through certain things?
I think it's just a way for them to check in so you can see them and that 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 they crossed over okay.
That they're okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I figured.
I mean, for me, it seems like it's more like a look, I'm fine now. They may have been very ill at the end of their life, sickly, and you would have worried how they crossed, or if they were in like a weird accident, or you know, suicide or something weird where they died, maybe not in a regular way, or you were worried about the way they passed. It's their way to check it in basically and saying, "Look, I'm okay. I crossed over." So whatever they were dealing with, was
Yeah.
taken away and cleansed basically, and they're okay. You know,
Wow.
Makes a lot of
Now,
sense.
yeah, no, definitely.
yeah, because
Absolutely.
do that check-in thing, and then you'll have visitation dreams, and that's what your spirit guides are for.
Oh, I have them every night. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
you can ask your guides like, hey, I'm really worried about, like, I have a sister and brother that passed, but I'll be like, hey, can you send them my way. Hook me up tonight when I'm sleeping. Like, I want to just say hi to them. I just want to see if they're okay. And so your guides can sort of try and pull them in for visitation. Yeah. Visitation dreams are weird because they're not dreams. You remember every child, they're usually just them sitting at a table. You're just talking to them. There's nothing like spectacular happening. You're not like on a unicorn or anything weird. You're just talking to them. And then it dawns on you like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here. You know how you start to say that? And
I did that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I did that in a dream, and then all of a sudden it was like the scariest thing ever because it like flashed to what my father looked like with like a cast on and all this stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, scared the daylights. And then I woke up really quickly and sat up, and it was. But every night he visits, just like you said, and he visits, and like we'll have like a dream where I'll close my eyes, I'll wake up like in this dream state that's totally lucid, totally real, and I'll be at my old grandmother's house, and she'll be upstairs. She'll walk down, and she's passed away too. She passed away 3 days after my father, and it'll be her and him in this house, and he'll be like, "Oh, you want to go for a ride?" Because that was his old thing. Like, let's go for a ride in the car and go get a soda or whatever. And it's just so crazy. It happens every single night now, and it's just like it's good to see him. You know what I mean? And I know that it's real, and I can feel that it's real. But obviously to me, it'll never be obviously enough to have him back here with me. But it's good to have that experience.
oh yeah, I mean it's fantastic that they allow that to happen. That it allow you to basically check in. And my guides and like the spirits will always explain to me, when you die, the spirit realm is super weird because it's, first of all, like you said, the concept of time is just not the same. And also it's worse than social media because when you're in the spirit realm, you can see everything. You know what everybody's up to. You know what all your family is doing it all at the same time. Like if you've got people in India and you have people in Australia, like all over the world, it doesn't matter. It's connected. Like it's very small. People think the
Yeah.
world is big, but it's actually like this very, very tiny. And when you pass in your spirit families, usually will sort of stay put, but people scatter. People move around the world. But you're
And,
all
and that's what I was told too. Like when you die, you have this option. You can either go towards the light and be healed and continue with your spiritual path, or you can turn around and you can explore the whole universe. You can explore any time, any place, anything.
hmm yeah, and that happens with people who are done with their reincarnations. So because you graduate. So people who have done all the reincarnations when you're in your last lifetime, those old souls, you can choose that. Do you know what I mean? You can either explore the universe. They'll send you into other, I know it's gonna sound crazy. They'll send you to other planets, other places you can travel. They can take you to help out in other locations, or you can stay with your spirit family, and help guide other people. You can become a spirit guide for other people. So there's different options. And it was really funny because one of my guides once explained to me, because I was asking about that. I'm like, what do you mean other planets? Because I am not a UFO person. But they keep talking about, well, technically we're aliens because we're not germane to this planet.
The
We
us, yeah.
the humans that are the majority of the beings here. But we made agreements with the beings that live here. So to live, and that's why there's separate areas that are sort of taboo that you can't go to. Even like in England with the fairy glades and things like that, there's areas that are known to be older, that there's other beings there that were there long before humans. But so there's quite a bit of stuff that goes on there.
So how would you explain like people being possessed?
If you are sensitive, say you're psychic, empathic, intuitive, and your aura is a little bit different. When you have psychic gifts, you look like a bluey purple. The color of the higher realms is this bluey purple color. So when people are dying, if they're a ghost, they're attracted to those people because they think you're from the higher order. They think you can help them. They think you can hear them. They also think that they can hitch a ride with you up into the upper realms. But for some reason, maybe they were meant to stay earthbound because of this whole suicide thing I was telling you about, or where they were supposed to remain on Earth till they would turn 80. So they'll try and hitch rides with people. So they'll stick around them and they won't leave them because they feel better. They feel like they can communicate with you. And as far as possessing people, it's more like you're picking up their energy. I've had people jump on me before. I had a lady do this. I was driving through downtown Buffalo, New York, where I'm from. I mind my own business, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a 1940s kitchen, and I'm seeing this woman's life like flash, 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 flash. It was almost like going through a picture album, and it was all like, it looked like 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, all different aspects, people, faces. I didn't know any of this, like what I was looking at, but it was like, gotta be somebody around me. Like I was picking up her whole, I guess her life was flashing before my eyes, but I was seeing it through hers. And I was telling my guys, like, someone just jumped in the car with me, and they're like, we know, we've got her. And then, and I'm like, what the hell? And the coolest part was, it was bright daylight. I'm standing in a kitchen, 1940s, and I'm like looking through somebody else's eyes. And I'm like, what the hell? And I knew it was 1940s. I could hear music and I could see like the counters in the kitchen. And I'm like, it was the most bizarre thing. But these were like her favorite memories. So I was like picking up a lot of her memories. She must have just been passing. And she like
did you feel her like in you? Like I know you felt her in the car. Like was she like touching you, or did she like go into your mind, or
like I guess they're on you. For me, I'm a medical empath, so I was feeling sick as well. I was feeling weirdly tired. I was feeling achy. Like I was feeling sort of how she passed, probably old age, whatever this was, just because the time period was so weird. I mean, you're talking about, what is that, 60 years ago? No, 80 years ago, right? So
80 years, yeah.
And she was an adult. You know, what she was showing me was an adult looking at this. And I'm like, wow, this it was freaking me out. But yeah, and I think sometimes it's accidental. They'll do that, but they're trying to communicate with you. This lady, I think, was just desperate. I think she crossed and didn't know where to go. Whatever was happening, lost or whatever happened. I happened to drive her. She might have been in the street. I don't know how she died. I don't know why she was there. You know.
Now, oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. I wanted to ask what you said though, how they're on you. I have a question. Like I live in an active home, and um, I do sessions obviously in the home, and I try to protect myself every way possible that I can, and I don't know if that always works, but I try to. But recently what's been happening is I've been having this feeling where like certain days I'll wake up and I feel like I have 400 pounds weighted on me out of nowhere. Now, I know this can be a physiological thing. This can be totally something going on in my body. I don't think it's depression. I don't feel sad. It's not like that or anything. But it's this feeling of like I feel like somebody's like on top of me almost. And it's like I feel so exhausted out of nowhere where like all I want to do is go back around and just sleep. Like I don't feel like I can even stand sometimes. Like, is that something that you think might be a spiritual aspect? Because I've gotten blood work, I've gotten everything done, nothing is going on. So I'm wondering like why all of a sudden, because I normally have energy like a 5-year-old every other day, but it's like these random days. I don't know what it is lately.
It's not like sleep paralysis. You don't like
no.
It's just like you're weighted. So, that's when you have to have a serious sit down with your spirit guide and say, because someone's affecting you, and you're probably, what they'll do, I know it sounds really weird, but people who are psychic and they have psychic gifts are healers. You're an empath, intuitive, sensitive, like you said, you're picking up other stuff. They sort of stick to you because they feel better when they're around you. So you're healing them just by being around your energy field. They feel like they're vibrant, like they feel better. But whatever was going on with their energy when they died or passed, you're feeling their illness, like you're feeling how they feel.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to feel their good and bad.
Exactly.
So So if they had a traumatic life of being beaten as a kid and then getting into those relationships, you'll feel that pain as well as the good stuff, right?
But what I always do though, I tell my guides, I'm like, listen, somebody's too close, because your spirit guide is like, oh, I said this already, but they're like a bouncer.
Like bodyguards, right?
They're what?
They're like bodyguards.
They're like bodyguards. Yeah, they're like bouncers in a nightclub. You're the nightclub. These spirits are they're supposed to keep them at arm's length, right?
Mm,
Supposed to. That's why your moods will change, because you know how
yeah.
sometimes you're in your own business and all of a sudden you'll be like, I'm so sad. All of a sudden, all right. I,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and then they'll like escort them away from you because they're being drawn to you, and then your guides will lead them away. Spirit guides, angels will come in
Mm,
and they're alerted that someone's around you. Now with you, when things like that happen, like for me, when they do that to me, I'll, my guides right away will be like, yes, we know someone's around. Someone just showed up. I'm like, okay, great. And what they'll do is they'll make me take cat naps. I'll sleep
yeah.
like I can't watch like a whole movie. Like I'll just fall asleep.
Yeah.
Hey Liz. So so I will just take like cat nap for like 5 minutes, not even on purpose. I'll be watching TV, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I'm out. And then I wake up and I feel like I slept 8 hours. And they do it on purpose. They'll make you take these weird little cat naps because they can fish around in your subconscious, so your unconscious brain. They can sort of figure out what's going on, pull this energy away without arguments, without me saying, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong. Why are you messing around? They'll do that because they realize someone is like attaching themselves to you. And then
Wow.
pull it off
Yeah.
of you. That's why your mood will change. That's why you'll wake up and be like, this is so weird. I feel like I slept 10 hours. I was
Yeah. Well,
10 minutes. This is bizarre. But they do that.
that's what I experience. I experience that constantly. Like it's weird, and lately it just like that feeling of this weight been on top of me. I don't know what, like I said, what it is, and I've been thinking lately like it has to do with an attachment. It has to do something along those lines that might have came through during a session or whatever. And it started when I started doing sessions again, so that's why I started to put two and two together. And I'm like, man, I was like, I was like, I got to ask today when I started talking to you, and we led right into it, which is absolutely wild.
But
Yeah.
AJ, what about that time we did that session? Remember,
Oh,
you and me did it, and
okay,
that
so
everything kicked off of that one.
yeah, we did a session one time, and we did it over a video call, and he first started it, and then all of a sudden his phone literally, like as we're communicating, we started asking about future events. The phone literally just, it was still running, but it was shut off. Like we couldn't
Mm.
hear nothing. The phone froze then and then shut off.
And,
And
and
then,
then and then the whole phone shut down completely, didn't it?
yeah, and then I started doing it. But then what's weird is after the fact, I started to sleepwalk. I started to wake up in random spots in my house. Like that night, I woke
Ooh.
up in the middle of the night in my aunt and uncle's room, standing there. My uncle's like, Anthony, what the f are you doing in my room?
Yeah, you're
And I
lucky you
just
didn't
keep
get
going.
Keeping calm.
And then all of a sudden, I went back downstairs. I went to sleep, and I woke up by the street smoking a cigarette, and I had no idea how I even got there. It made no sense. I had a cigarette in my hand that was lit, and I'm standing by the side of the street, and I'm like, "This is
whatever, dude. You sound like me on the weekend.
Yeah.
no."
Somebody was like, you're a peeping Tom."
I swear to God, I wasn't on a single thing, and it was so weird because I never had that happen again. Never had it happen before. It was a very thing, and it happened right after this situation, and I'm like, wow, that was scary.
So someone was probably with you, wasn't leaving your
Mm.
side, was trying to get your attention, you know what I mean? Was not leaving you. Basically,
Yeah. Now,
I don't know, because I had a near-death experience. I think we talked about that. You did too, right? Didn't you say you had
yeah, yeah.
And so, when you die and then you're brought back, your energy pool changes. Your energy field is different. Your energy
Mhm.
goes counterclockwise to Earth, and then when you die, you go counterclockwise up. So your soul's in motion. So your energy field is in motion. So that's why a lot of these spirits will see you because you're not moving the right way.
And that different aura, right?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They try and they
Yeah.
figure you go to the right place, or they're trying to sneak out through you, sort of in a weird way. I know it sounds strange, but that's what they'll
No,
do.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, now, question: when you have spirits that, like, hear stories about spirits leading people into their quote death, like
Mm.
by drowning or something along those lines, what is that all about? Like, is that them trying to steal the energy of that person, or do they believe that they can catch a ride with that person? Like, what's going on with that situation? Like, is this the evil renegades we're talking about, the demons? Like,
That's part of it, because they were explaining the renegade thing, this whole evil angel. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, not that long
yeah,
ago. They claim it was only like 15,000. It's not like that long ago. Like, people aren't as
yeah,
old as they think, is one thing they keep saying. But anyway, so they're talking about these renegades that they said they've become bastardized and sort of really distorted from what the original
mm,
creation was, because what they do is they'll go after humans and they'll take their energy to keep themselves energized. They'll try and kill
yeah,
these people to mess with them. Like, they've turned They're basically not nice. They're evil. They can control people. They know they can. Angels communicate telepathically. These beings can communicate telepathically. They'll send you messages. They'll send you full messages. If you were trying to do something, this is good.
Yeah,
Oh no, yeah.
like when I was in Iraq and they said, don't go on this mission.
Mm.
Like that it was plain as day as we're talking now. I heard it. It said,
Yep.
whatever you do, don't go on this mission. I was
Yep.
like,
I've
okay.
had that happen multiple times.
Yeah, and you'll hear it clearly, but that's why the angels were governing the angelic realm, because governing the animal realm, because animals also don't have a language. They communicate telepathically. So that's why your dogs and cats, if you're thinking about your
They
animal,
feel your feelings, yeah. Yeah.
they're hearing
Yeah.
it. So that's why
You know,
animals are actually more powerful than humans, and they've been around longer. They're older
Wow.
yeah.
humans.
I see. It's so crazy that you talked about that because one time I was out with my friend and my father. My father was driving and he went to the gas station. All of a sudden, I started to profusely sweat, and I heard something that said something bad's going to happen when you get on the highway.
Mm.
Don't be alarmed. Going to be okay. And I didn't think anything of it, but I started to sweat, and I got this really sick feeling, and then it came over really strong before my dad got in the car. I turned to my friend before my dad got in the car, and I said to him, "Something bad's going to happen when we get on the highway." And my friend's like, "Dude, don't say that. What is wrong with you? Why would you say that?" And so my dad used to do this thing where he would be so tired and he'd be falling asleep kind of at the wheel almost. And I would always have to like hit him, and so he was joking around as we're driving back. We're almost home. We're about like an exit away. And all of a sudden he made a joke and he looked in the mirror to tell my friend Nick he was going to make a joke. So when he made the joke, he was laughing. And when he came back up, all of a sudden he started to seize.
Oh.
And we started to his foot was on the gas. We were going faster and faster. I realized what was going on, and instead of freaking out, I grabbed his leg, took it off the gas pedal, put the car in neutral. As I'm steering the wheeling over to let the car slowly slow down so we could stop the car. I'm telling my friend Nick, call 911 for me. I knew everything to do in the situation, and what was so weird is my friend Nick like started to run down the highway to get help. He's on the phone. I'm on the phone with 911. All of a sudden, I'm trying to get my dad CPR, but I can't because he's in the seat and it's not solid. And all of a sudden, I got this idea to just take my hand and say, "Spirit guide, I need you to help me. I need you to give him life or give him a breath." And I just slapped his chest and I held my hand there. And all of a sudden, he just took a gasp of air right before the ambulance showed up, and he was completely fine, like 100%, like nothing ever happened. It
Mm.
was the craziest thing I've ever experienced, but I know that hearing and that feeling that you're talking about, like I couldn't explain it. When I was drenched, sweating, like everyone looked at me like, "Yo, what's going on with you?"
Mm.
And I couldn't believe it. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they can give you a whole thought of just what to do. It's almost like they jump in and take over,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
even
like you're almost doing things that you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
yeah.
Almost, and that's something they can do. Angels will definitely do that. That's why they can like lift a car off a toddler and things
So,
like
Yeah.
so when it comes to suicide, then why wouldn't they intervene then?
depending on why they were committing suicide, depending on what was going on. They could just have been unstable. Maybe they couldn't be saved from this life. And then sometimes that's why they don't always remain earthbound, even though if they had a contract. Sometimes they will have to go for more healing, depending on what's wrong with them. They could have a mental disorder. They could have been in an accident where they had brain damage. They could be
Or
just
do you think they were released too early from the cocoon or from the healing process?
right, because then they'll send you back to Earth, and they're like, "Oh, maybe this wasn't, this isn't
Yeah.
good for this person, or they're not handling this well. Then they're not doing, they're definitely faltering on everything they're trying to do in this lifetime. You know,
Oh,
they once said to me too that they said, just so you know, humans like Earth is one of the strictest battlefields, like training grounds that exists in the
I was
universe.
gonna say, yeah, feels that way.
They're like the biggest jerks ever.
Yeah.
Well, because we're bossy, very independent, or trained that way. And this is even in cultures and countries where people are, they're very restricted. People are still mouthy and they still do their own thing. So they'll take people who are humans who've graduated doing their reincarnations because they're trying to teach you. They're trying to, you're gaining knowledge every lifetime and you're becoming better and better and better at dealing with weird, tough situations. And they said that people being brought from like planet Earth to populate other planets or help out in other cultures and other things that are going on are considered like generals. Like they're really strong. If
Yeah.
you can make it through your incarnations on Earth, it's like an amazing feat because it's really hard.
Yeah.
Earth, this is a very tough training school. It's like being in boot camp.
Yeah.
Not easy. This life is not
No.
easy at all.
Yeah,
You know?
no,
But they can do multiple things at once. The spirits can't, they? Because I remember one time on an investigation I was on, we were all in a room, and this lady at the table that was sitting at the table actually got affected to the point where we literally had to end up carrying her out. But as she was being affected, whatever it was actually on my back, as if it was like a piggyback, because I could feel myself getting more and more weighed forward. And I said to the guy beside me, I said, whatever this is here is on my back. And he obviously started shouting, you know, get off Robin's back, get off his back and stuff like that. And he was like, I can feel it on mine, but I could feel it half on mine then, and then it was obviously half on his. So it was like it was moving around the circle. But in the meantime, this lady that was at the table away from us, she just leaned forward and went quiet. And then it was basically that she was in a complete another state. We had to just lift her and take her out. She was gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was like they were affecting me, they were affecting this other guy beside me, but they were also affecting her over there.
Right. Right. Well, those beings are extremely powerful. You know what I mean? If you are, well, because they call them spirit guardians too, these guiding energies that are around these locations. They'll watch over historic places. They'll watch over graveyards, cemeteries where a lot of people have died, things like that. So they're not human really. They're more angelic guard. And those are guardians. Then you have, that's why you always feel like you're watched when you go into cemeteries, things like that, because they're bigger than humans. They're just more powerful. But then you have these ones that are these darker energies, these entities, you know?
So,
yeah, because we were sitting there doing the seance, and as we were doing it, I could see the lady at the table I could see that she was going. You know, like I could see that she was leaning forward and that her eyes were shut, and it was just, you know, like breathing, and there was, you could hear her sort of, you know, like that. And I knew, but as I was gonna like try and do something, it was like this was on my back holding me down, like, you know, as if like you're not going anywhere, and you know, I'm pushing down kind of thing. And all I could literally say to the guy who beside me was, "This is on my back." And it wasn't until he actually started telling it that it actually started moving, because I couldn't even tell. I hadn't even got the energy to tell it. All I could do was say that. It wasn't until he actually said this and it started moving that I was able to then say to the guy who his wife at the table, I said, "You better check her because she's gone." And then we were able to go and check, but it was stopping me from doing.
Right, what you were trying to do. And then do you remember even like who you're trying to contact or what questions were being asked? Was it anything that would have been like?
No, it had already started. We were working on, there was 3 groups of us, but we were all working together, but working separately as well. Okay. And they had already started. They had a spirit box portal on the table.
Okay.
So, and they were asking questions, and I don't know why they did it this way, but they all sort of sat round the sides of the room, but his wife continued to sit at the table. I think she just felt comfortable there. Okay. But they were asking questions. This was given answers and stuff like that. And I had sort of finished part of my investigation, and I walked in, and they were like, you know, come and sit down and ask a few questions and stuff. So I thought, yeah, fair enough. So I said to the mother, "No, right, record this." And we went, and I sat down, and then that's when it literally happened. But as I sat down, I thought, right, well, I'm going to ask a few questions here. It wasn't letting me. It was as if like you're doing nothing. You can
like shut it down. Yeah. Yeah, because it gets weird. I mean, you know, when you paranormal investigate, you know that paranormal hangover thing is a very real thing. You know how the next day you're absolutely done. You're fried. But they
driving home from Montana.
Yeah, and just human ghosts, right? Human ghosts will absolutely just zap you. I always tell people if you're paranormal investigating on any level, if you go into a haunted location, bring cookies with you, bring something that's going to bring your blood sugar up, because they will drain your blood sugar. Like she could have been hypoglycemic, I don't know. Like, but they will drain your blood sugar. Like you are so zapped. By the end of the investigation, you're starving. You have to go through like a fast food place. You know how you get super, super hungry. So they'll
Yeah.
actually take you out. They'll like take all your energy.
Luckily
See,
enough, it was a haunted pub, so there was plenty there to replenish the.
I got this
yeah.
margarita.
That's actually something I want to talk to you about, actually, what just led into that. When it comes to alcohol and, drugs, certain things like that, does that raise or lower our vibration? Does it raise it if we're happy and having a great time with it, or does it lower it? Like, how does that work out? Does it always lower it? Like, what's your, knowledge on that?
I don't know. I think that certain things, I mean, that's why like the Native Americans use the peyote and, they'll do mushrooms and they're seeing all kinds of stuff and they get messages. So there's certain drugs that I think, I don't know. It causes, I don't know. I would say, I think tracks like, so if you are like a mean drunk,
Okay.
and you're drinking, you're going to bring negative to you. If you're a happy drunk, you're probably going to bring happy spirits. We have a spirit here who drinks a lot. We smell whiskey a lot, and they'll put their energy on people here. Will feel so drunk they'll have one glass of wine and be absolutely hammered. So he like around certain people, they'll pick up what just like when he died here. He's an alcoholic, and so I don't know. I think that there's certain. I mean, you've got drugs I think that maybe will calm you down a little and open your mind. Like those aren't. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call because you also want to remember you don't want anything that's going to make it so you can't think straight.
That's what I mean. Like, I figured that, it's okay with the alcohol thing. Like, as long as you're not getting plastered and out there where you're like, you don't have any control of yourself and your energy is totally whacked out. But I was just wondering if, like if there is times where it's not, lowering that vibration of yourself or your energy and stuff like that, even though you're not feeling it, obviously. But I was just wondering if it does it overall or not. And it's good to know that because there's a lot of people that like, there's a lot of things out there now that tell you like, you have one drink, like your energy, your vibration will lower and, all this crazy stuff. And it's not truly like that, which is great to hear,
Well, like here, we have a history of the family. One of the big families that lived here back in the 1800s were rum runners. So they would have had booze. Then there was rumors of a speakeasy being here. So like sometimes they'll have like a shot of whiskey and be like, hey, and you want to join us for a shot of whiskey. And that stirs stuff up because they're like, oh, I know what whiskey is. And we'll put those, we have all these different pieces of equipment where we have this one thing. It's like a coffin. If you put things in there, like put cigar and whiskey in there, they can reach in and it stuff. And we'll say, hey, here's a shot for you. Here's some whiskey. And sure enough, they'll always grab for it. So it draws things to you too, depending on the history of the place,
Yeah.
What's the location you're at?
Our B&B at Greystone Manor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please. Now, I wanted to actually get into Greystone real quick. Do you have the time? I know you're running. I know you got some things you have to take care of. Do you have a couple extra minutes?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So I want to get into Greystone real quick. Please talk a little bit. I know you did last podcast and you told us like a good amount about it, but please talk about Greystone. John didn't get to hear it. I know some viewers may not, but please talk a little bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we own a Victorian mansion in Gasport, New York. It's between like Niagara Falls, New York and Rochester, up on Lake Ontario. It's a Erie Canal house as well. So it's got a lot of history to it. It was built in 1833. We opened it up as a B&B about 6 years ago. So you can stay here. Lots of activity here from the previous families as well. They experienced quite a few things here. Did write a book on it called The Haunting of Greystone Manor, and that was after interviewing all the other families that lived here and all the experiences they had. But the house was originally a big fruit farm, but the person who had it in 1833 also was a cooper. He used to make carriages. So we found remnants of carriages in the old blacksmith shop here on the property, like carriage steps and everything. Lots of metal back there and horseshoes and everything. Family after him, they bred racehorses. So there was a big like quarter-mile racetrack on the property, and he bred these racehorses, Hamiltonian racehorses. He used to win a lot of money. Very wealthy family. So those people were the ones who were the rum runners, though. they were part of the Underground Railroad. So this was an Underground Railroad stop as well. The property also has Native American burial mounds on the property in the back. So we get a lot of Native American sightings, lots of chanting and drumming, and we see shadow people on the backfield that run up on you. We've caught pictures and video of that. Crazy stuff. Lots of talking.
Like my kind of place.
It's fun. Your kind of place.
Yeah.
So much crazy history. Like it goes everything from the land to the canal to just gambling and everything else. And they're all politicians too. The roots.
How did you come across this place? Like, what got you? Did you get pulled to this place, or how did you?
Accidentally. I mean, I own my own house. I was living in a suburb of Buffalo, and I had my own house. My husband and I met, but he's from the country, so we were living in a very congested suburban neighborhood, and he wanted something with land. So we started house hunting, started looking around, and we kept looking at houses. We didn't like anything we saw, but then this one kept popping up. But the listing for this house, it was a foreclosure house, was really dull. They didn't take pictures of any of the nice parts of the house. So like it was just like a so we kept just ignoring it. And finally we came to look at it, and we couldn't believe what it looked like inside. It's completely intact. It's like a weird little historic strange house, because the family who was here after the Root family was here, the lady lived here till she was in her 90s, and she was blind for like the last 40 years she lived here. So she never touched or finished anything. She never updated anything. So the house is like a weird little intact. It's a museum. It's a historic site now.
Yeah.
But it's got everything in here still. Everything's just original. Everything was left as it was. So it's this weird little time capsule. So
that is awesome.
And we ended up buying it, but we had no idea it had activity because we were told it was sold when we went to look at it. So we never looked at the house. So I was never allowed to come in here and look at it, which I would have gotten a feel as a psychic. I would have done your usual walkthrough, not just checking faucets and stuff, but I was trying to get a psychic on it. We showed up the house the day to look at it, and they were like, hey, it's a bid's been put on it. It's sold. So we went to look at 2 other houses that day. So I just forgot about this house. And then my husband's like, hey, let's put a bid on that other house, because he had gone in the basement and he liked what he saw. He liked the way the house was built. And we were just goofing around. Like we were not seriously going to buy a house. We were just, and then they accepted our offer, and we were like, I never friend, and it was like a 45-minute drive from our house too, so it's not like right around the corner. So I asked my friend who's the real estate agent, and I'm like, hey, listen, we need to go back through that house. And she's like, well, you guys are in a contract, so you can't go back through it because the bank owns it. We're like, what the hell? I'm like, okay. I go, so final inspection, we need to come with you. She's like, okay. So final inspection was like a month and a half later, because it takes forever to close on houses. And I got this text from her going, hey guys, the final inspection went great. You're all good to go. And I'm like, no, we had to come with you for that. She's like, oh, don't worry, it's good. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
They don't want you to see the ghost.
Yeah, you're good. And they're like, I want to know if it's haunted. And she's just laughing at me. I'm like, I'm serious. Like, what do you mean? So I never looked at it. And then we took some pictures through windows, because we're like, we had no idea what the floor plan was of this house. We didn't know what it looked like. So we're taking pictures from the windows. And that's when my husband got a picture of a woman. And
was he freaking out? Like, I would have been like, no, we're moving right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
he's ex-military,
okay.
He's a total skeptic. So he's like, even though it's what I do, he's like, nothing going on. And he took the pictures, and he's like, and he thought he saw a lady standing by the back door as well. He saw a woman standing. He thought it was his daughter who was with us at the time. And he put his hands down to talk to her, because he was looking in the window like this. Yeah. And he freaked out, because it's like there was a woman. He saw her legs like standing right next to him, and he freaked. So he got home with the pictures, and is like, there's a woman in this window like peeking at us. And I'm like, don't even start, because it's too late, because we're moving in like the next day. I'm like, don't even start.
It's so funny. It's like when you're a man and your wife's a medium, what do you get her instead of flowers? You just buy her a haunted home. You know what I mean?
She already knows what she's getting. She's a psychic.
But he makes sure to go to another woman there too.
Right.
Run around, and then
terrible. I mean,
he already knows what she's gonna get.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to make it weirder, about 2 years after moving into the house, and then obviously when we first moved in, we were having all these experiences, and we're like, oh my God, we're hearing things, voices, our name was being called from other parts of the house. My cousin did our ancestry.com. He was doing our family tree. And he goes, hey, I just want to let you know, we're actually blood related to the Root family. The people who are here with the racehorses, those are we're blood related to them. We have the same like 3 times great grandfather, Joshua Root. And they had
That's
3 boys.
crazy.
We're the Joshua Root Jr. line. These guys are Thomas. But the messed up part is when the Roots were living here, they were first cousins. They all would have known each other.
Wow.
So related to this family who lived here.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Like, see, it was like you were meant.
Me, we wanted family back in the house. Curtis Root would come up to me all the time because I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, we're happy you're here. We wanted family in the house.
Welcome. Yeah.
Wow.
What comes to my next question is, if you'll come on again, Heather, sometime, we'll just do a podcast as a live session from your house.
Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
Hey, Heather, real quick, can people pay to have readings from you, or like do you do that as well as doing the B&B? And also, can you tell us our spirit guides? Do you know our spirit guides, or can you see them?
I mean, I can, yeah, let me take a look. I'll ask to see what's going on with that. But for me, for readings, if you want to have readings done, you can go to our website. It's www.greystonemanor.com. It's Grae, Greystone, spelled a little differently. And that has all my psychic links. I'm all on that website. So you can definitely go in there and you can book readings with me and contact us through there.
I'm going to type it in the comments real quick.
Yes.
It's www.greystone.com.
Yeah. GreystoneManor.com. And that has everything on there. So anything, appearances, other things going on, and just shows that I'll be on and things like that, because I'm doing a lot of stuff in the future too. But spirit guides with you guys, I mean, I'm trying to see. Okay. So John, right? JK?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
John? Trying to ask who's around you. Who wants to step forward? He says it's Ryan, but
yes, that's my youngest one.
He said Ryan is with you mostly.
Yeah.
He said it really clearly too, but he said it's not the one you think it is. Did you lose something?
No.
But he said Ryan. AJ. Who's around AJ?
This will be good.
Hold on. Okay. They're saying you actually have a spirit guide that's a female, though.
What is the odds of that, dude? I'm sorry. That was just too much right there, because that's so true. Apologize.
She's giving me B names. Like, it sounds like Bernie, something like that. Bernice.
It was weird. I got it. It's weird because when I first heard it, it was called Drina, and Adrina or Drina, something along those lines.
Weird. It didn't sound like a normal name. That would make sense.
Yeah.
But she's coming in as female. She said she's a female, sort of watching over you, that you needed extra guidance, she said, and there's angels with you as well. So you're not out of protection. That's why you probably feel like you're bossed around a little, she says. Because you have male angels that are like, that sort of push you.
Dude, what is that? Like, is she not on the ball or what, guys? Like, I'm sorry, that's too much. I
want to hear about Robin. I want to hear.
Yeah. Oh, God. You don't want to hear of it.
Who's around you? Who's around you? He's Scottish.
Oh.
McKellen, something like this.
McKellen. All right.
He says, call him McKellen, but he's Scottish. He's older too. He's been around for a while. This is a person who's at least 300 years old. He's been gone. So he's
Robin's sensitive. Like,
he's
he can
older spirit.
Yeah. So that might be helping him.
Yeah. And angels with you as well, though. I think you've got some protection on you. I mean, all of you do, because of what you do.
I do. I have projected a few times in my time.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you definitely have that spirit he's pretty strong around you as well. This McKellen. Keep saying McKellen. I was
Wow.
thinking he was giving me his last name, but he didn't tell him.
The one that I get all the time when I ask is one called Dante.
And you
Dante
may have
McKellen. That might be it, man. I don't know.
too, so it could be easily Dante as well. Like you could have angelic guard that sticks with you as well. Because they'll do this, especially people who are involved in paranormal and things like that.
Heather, I'm just amazed because I was told of my 3 spirit guides. I was told of Ryan, Santos, and Christina. And you nailed Ryan right on the dot.
Yeah.
He was my childhood spirit guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you said mine too, because mine, I got told that one of mine was an older lady named Adrena, or something with a weird name like that. She was very wise, but she was there to, obviously, exactly what you said, to give me more guidance and because I needed more. And then I have 2 other ones. One from my childhood was a boy named David, which I remember playing with as a child, and an older gentleman named Raul, who I guess he's always mad at me a lot because he comes through the spirit box anytime I talk to him. He won't talk to me otherwise.
I know exactly how he feels.
Yeah. When I do address him, and I ask if he's upset with me, he's like, "I'm upset with you, but whatever." You know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, I get it. Drina's really cool. David's cool, but Raul, he's the tough one. Yeah, I could see that.
Probably you feel like you're being pushed around a little, like pushed.
Oh yeah.
Do something. You're being like.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what you need. You need to get pushed in sometimes.
Oh, I do, man. I do.
You need a good slap sometimes as well.
A good slap across
it makes so much sense. It makes.
What do you mean you're not showing up for the podcast?
Yeah. So I just want to real quick put this on the screen. You said greystonemanor.com?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me put this on the
screen. Right down there. Anything you need to, as far as contact info and reading info, everything's on the links. Just go through, pull down the other pages, and everything's on there.
Awesome. Well, I would love to. Now you obviously get pictures and stuff like that from guests who come there and all that type of stuff, probably, right?
Of things that they've caught. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, question: if you have any available, I'd love to have you back on and just have a Greystone Manor kind of thing, so we could show evidence and all that type of stuff. If you'd be down. Oh, that'd be great.
Stuff is insane.
I'll fly out there. You just let me know. I'll go with
you. Now, AJ, another thing is, whenever I get a chance to fly out there, you, me, and John need to go to Greystone Manor at the same time and conduct an investigation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime.
And obviously, Heather will be there as well.
That's a date.
Catch some serious shit.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. Yeah. Well, Heather, thank you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, yeah.
And, we'll see you next time. I truly appreciate it. There's one thing that I do want to ask you in the back, so if you don't mind, just stay for a couple minutes so we can end and then do that. Just something I want to ask about Greystone.
Sure.
But I truly appreciate it. I know we all do. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks so much.
See you soon.
Thank you, man.
Wow, guys. What did you guys think, man? I'm blown away every time.
Boom! She blew my mind, man, when she said Ryan.
Dude, hit the name on the nail. Like, oh my gosh, man.
I was going to say she blew my mind, but you've got to have a mind to blow.
Yeah. Hold on. She's saying something. Hold on. Let me bring her back on real quick. She's trying to yell at us. Hold on. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, John, your guide was really loud because I was looking at Robin first for the U.S. where the guides were, and he said, "No, tell him Ryan's here. Tell John Ryan's here." So
that's so amazing, man.
So it was weird.
I just love how our energy was connecting.
Just made his day.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you know what?
We're not name right on.
We're just going to do our closing with this. So I tell you, absolutely awesome. And, like I said, just totally such a fun time. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me on again. This is really fun.
Not a problem.
No, thank you, Heather. Thank you very much.
All right,
well,
guys.
everyone, thank you for watching another episode Talking with the Source. We're with Heather Mattison, awesome medium, great friend of ours. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name's AJ Capasso. I'm here with my other 2 friends. Please say goodbye, guys.
Jonathan
Robin,
Keyword.
Hi.